I'm at 6529 Glen Avenue in Pleasant Ridge, Cincinnati, Ohio. Doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. Now we're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. The access point here is this PVC stack, clean out by the floor, and right behind the boiler here, and that is the door coming in from the garage. And so this has definitely been replaced as far as the stack, and it goes down goes down and goes directly into clay, which I am a fan of over cast iron in these old houses, just because they're clay, as long as it doesn't get as long as you don't have a bunch of movement. Clay lasts for quite a while. This one's probably been around for, this one's probably getting close to 80 to 100 years old. You can kind of see the roll in. There's a little bit of stuff there, but nothing of concern. And there's a little bit, you'll see some creep in there like this, that just at the joints where just a little bit of stuff gets in. That looks like there may be just a hair bit of roots, nothing to even really above mention. It's really nothing to, there's no issue. A little bit more there. This is all pretty normal to find in clay lines. I mean, it's barely even, like I said, it's barely even worth mentioning. It is something that you could take a look at in years and just to check to see, make sure that the roots aren't growing or anything. But the clay line itself looks great structurally. And there's a little bit more getting in, and like I said, it's not uncommon to have stuff, a little bit of roots get in at the pipe seams where there's connections, because these pipes are only about 3 foot long until the next connection. And over the years, the connection, the packing they used around the connection on something that's almost 100 years old, breaks down a little bit, and then it allows a little bit of access for some little tiny roots like that to get in. And so as long as you pay attention to them, you can either treat it with a chemical, or every few years you might want to have it looked at, or either inspected, or just you could treat it with a chemical once a year. As you can see, the little millipede there hanging out. But so I've seen a couple spots of very, very minor root intrusion, but it's not causing any problem. It's just something that you may want to have it looked at again in another 3 to 5 years is my normal recommendation, and just to go ahead and check it and make sure that the roots aren't growing, and if they are, you can get a gauge of how often to maintenance it. You could always use the chemical as a preventative measure, roughly once a year, but if there's barely any roots, it won't do you any good. You'll just literally be dumping it down the drain for no reason. At this point, there's so very little amount of roots that it's not really, putting anything in there would be pointless. I have to get a little run started this. The line's kind of wrapping up in the pipe. This line is wide open, functioning beautifully. It's barely worth mentioning those roots. Really, it feels like really not much to mark, other than the fact that you might want to look at them in a few years, like I said. Now I got some. Okay. Looks like we're diving down into the main. So I'm going to try to clean the camera lens off a little bit here. There we go. See, we were all the way down into the main. There's going to be some water running behind this here, mainly because the storm lines are also tied into this, and so the downspouts and stuff come in here. But this line looks great. It looks great structurally. You just have a couple spots where you just want to, I have to note it because it's what I'm here for, but really the most you want to do is maybe take a look at it in another 3 to 5 years and check to see if the root growth has increased, or if it stayed the same, then you don't need to worry about a thing. But I mean, structurally, this all looks really great. Pipe, the clay pipe has all kept its shape, and no cracks. All the seams look tight. There's no major offsets or anything. This line looks really good. Again, I'll have to mention that, but yeah, this looks really good. I think that's the worst part of the whole thing right there. Just a little tiny bit of roots at 40 feet. Like I said, it would take a few more years for that to really grow much. So maybe 3 years, take another look at it and make sure that that's not growing into the flow line and grabbing a hold of any solids. But kind of wish it was holding more water in a few spots so I could rinse it off better. Yeah, so we made it all the way back to the clean out. And everything looked great. Said the only thing really, I mean, the largest amount of roots were like 40 to 41 feet, and it was very, very minuscule amount of roots. So I would recommend that that you just take a look in about another 3 years, just to make sure, check to see the growth rate, and maybe if you wanted to do some preventative maintenance, you could always put some root X or something down there. About once a year, just to, if there are any getting in, it would prevent them from growing into a situation where they would have an issue. So yeah, line looked great structurally. I would just take a look and have another inspection done in about another 3 years, just to check to see if it needs maintenance. But right now it's open, flowing free and clear at time of inspection, and it all looked great structurally. So that will end the inspection at 6529 Glen Avenue in Pleasant Ridge, Ohio.